Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It's Chris with Ben and Milton for Outer Rim Transmission, episode 138. We've been asking for it. Lucasfilm finally gave it to us. We are talking about The Bad Batch Season 3, the final trailer for this awesome animated series. We're going to get into the weeds, guys, as you could usually expect from the channel here at Starrapter. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. We took a ton of screenshots of this trailer. Some big revelations, characters surviving that we thought were dead, some huge head-scratching things in this trailer. We're going to break it down, provide our usual speculation, theories, all that good stuff as us good Star Wars fans tend to do. So, Milton, how's it going? I know you have something you want to tell us right off the bat.
No, things are going great, man. Just glad to be on the podcast, talking some Star Wars. It's a good NFL weekend. But yeah, like I said, and my week in Star Wars, we'll get into it after our introductions.
All right, and Ben, I know your attention is also split, maybe a little bit between this and something else right now.
Yeah, I just it's been a good weekend working out, being on the diet grind. Like I told you guys at the beginning of this, hey, I'm down 11 pounds now, so things are going well. I'm on the road getting shredded again, so it's been fun. And then it's watching some NFL football and stuff. So it's been a really nice time, and yeah, I can't wait to get in and talk Bad Batch with you guys tonight. It's fun, and it's about time we finally get a trailer, and we don't even really have to wait that long for the show, which is that much more refreshing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all that because besides the trailer, they told us when it's coming out, and they gave us episode titles and episode airing dates for all those said titles. So yeah, we got the full shebang there. But I'm gonna throw it over to you, Milton. I have an idea what it could be, but go ahead, share it for the audience out there. What's your week in Star Wars? Because I don't actually have one.
Yeah. So, like I told you guys last week, I've been not making, but asking my girlfriend to watch the Star Wars films with me in general. So we finally have started the sequel trilogy, and we watched The Force Awakens about a couple months ago. She enjoyed that one. I told you she's not a big fan of Kylo Ren because she hates him for killing Han Solo. So, over the last 3 days, we've watched The Last Jedi. So I need to go to my messages as I pull up her information. So, we finished it this morning, actually. All right? And this is her conclusion. Biggest issue was the lack of plot. I wouldn't watch it again like I would most of the other ones we've watched. The Luke storyline didn't bother me as much as you at first until the end. The Force hologram seemed so anti-Luke and felt disrespectful to his character that he ended like that. Kylo Ren is scum, and I didn't like the Kylo Ren storyline and Rey storyline. So what she's saying there, she didn't like the whole bridging their minds Force Skype stuff that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then she's like, I did like the continuation of Rey's story, but even that felt drawn out. Rose and Finn connection was fine. Made sense until the end when she kissed him. That was weird. And then she said her score out of 10, 4 out of 10.
What?
I think that's a really fair assessment.
I was ready for you to tell us that she absolutely loved it. Actually,
it's funny because I told her, I said, if you don't like Kylo Ren after The Force Awakens, you're really going to hate him after this movie. And I said, you may even hate him more after The Rise of Skywalker. But she did thought it was weird that they made Luke a coward and made him like scared. And she's like, like Luke's optimistic. Luke's a hero. And she's like, he's always been optimistic and he's always wanted to like push through. And I'm like, absolutely. That's what we all felt Luke was and has been since it was introduced to him from, the first movie.
Well, see, the thing about that is, Milton, the cool thing about like having an audience like her, for example, like a real general, like a general type person, is like, it's not, like that's just like one like litmus test to point to. Like that's not just us like crazy hardcore Luke fans that were mad or like not fans of that decision. It was, that translates just to really general people. Because like, my grandma, like I've referenced my grandma so many times on this podcast now, but she's she's been a Star Wars fan since it came out in '77, and like, those were her thoughts about that movie. It was very similar to what your girlfriends were, in terms of like Luke's character. So like, stuff like that just kind of shows, like, some people online think like fans are just overreacting to things, when a lot of times, like, a lot of general audience people probably think like that, because like, general audience members don't sit and overthink movies like we all do. They watch it, assess it, and like move on basically. And that's a fair assessment though by your girlfriend.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I think she did a really good job at breaking down like her thoughts. And like I said, I told her I didn't want her to be tainted by my, viewpoint of this movie, because I told her, I'm like, I don't like this film. I said there's a couple parts of the film that I'm like, oh, it worked, a few parts here or there, but like the whole Casino Planet thing. I mean, she said this was kind of a waste. She's like that really didn't put. And the biggest thing she said, she's like, nothing really happens in the movie. She's like the plot just sits there, and I'm thinking, okay. And that, when she said it, I'm thinking she's absolutely right. What is the actual plot of this film? Because she said in the other movies something happens in Act 1 that leads up into Act 2 and 3. And she did a good job explaining that, how like in most of the movies this happens because this leads into that later. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And she's like, in this movie, she's like, I felt like anything that happened in Act 1 didn't really pay off in Act 2 or 3. And I was like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right looking back on it.
Yeah.
But again, she's not a fan like that. So for her to say that, I was like, okay, like that's fair.
Yeah, that's a really fair
Yeah.
criticism.
First off, I gotta say I applaud her for the plot points, because oftentimes on the internet you're getting people out there just say this is crap, this is garbage, and they give no explanation, no defense on why that is, and it's just childish, and I'm tired of it. But at least she was able to process her thoughts in a meaningful way. And yeah, because the plot thing, I'm sitting here racking my brain like, okay, what was the plot for The Last Jedi? Because last we left off in The Force Awakens, they were victorious. And then I guess in this whole thing, they're trying to replicate The Empire Strikes Back in a way where it's like the First Order is all power dominance. They're taking down the base in Dakar like they did on Hoth. They're doing this. They're on the run, just like the rebels were on the run in Empire Strikes Back. And you get to the end of it, and nothing really happens. It's like, oh yeah, Leia basically says like, we have everything we need right here, and the story just ends. So if anything, it's just like, it's just about the downfall of Resistance, them getting crushed, and then Rey, her ultimate mission that she has in Last Jedi already was succeeded in the first 2 minutes, when the whole idea is her going to just meet Luke Skywalker. She meets Luke Skywalker, and that's basically the movie. Like, there is that much going on there. So I could see from like the surface perspective, and from her perspective, she's, justified in those thoughts, because yeah, you're right. Like, from a lot happens from a story standpoint, like Rey going through a lot of stuff and trials, and Kylo and all that, the Force stuff. But yeah, no, I could definitely see from that perspective.
Right.
That's
And then
cool.
because I also didn't like the whole Snoke scene where he gets off, and
Oh, that was awesome. I gotta say, even on the first viewing, I liked that one quite a
yeah,
bit.
she wasn't like she. I mean, the spectacular. She's like, okay, I can see the visuals, but she's
Mm.
like it's kind of stupid, because she's like, I called it. He's gonna get killed. Blah blah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, like she was paying attention, and like she was like, yeah, this isn't a rewatchable one for her.
Hmm.
And I
Oh.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
agree. Fair. And I told her, I said, you might enjoy The Rise of Skywalker better than this one. But
Hmm.
I said that movie still might make you mad.
I feel like the thing about that movie is like us three and like other people, a lot of people may just have like general criticisms of it in the fandom. But I feel like at minimum, that movie is probably it's close to probably the most fun out of the three movies, I would say, with just the random different things that happen in that movie, like just fun, like campiness, adventure, like
Hmm.
it's just that movie is just so snappy. It's just scene to scene to scene to scene to
True.
scene to scene. Um, I feel like yeah, I'm interested to hear what she has to say about that one, because it's much more snappier and upbeat. So she might like that one coming off of The Last Jedi.
All right. So getting into the show proper, I'm very much looking forward to seeing or hearing about our thoughts for Rise of Skywalker, as well as the rest of the audience here. We'll be waiting on bated breath to find out what the final score for the last of the sequels will be. Did she give a score for The Force Awakens, by the way, by any chance?
No, I don't think she did. I'm sure if I ask her, she'll give me something. But I know she liked that movie. She actually thoroughly enjoyed it. She loves Finn. Like Finn's her guy. She loves Chewie,
Mm.
loves Finn. Um, yeah, and like she likes Ray, I believe. But I think she liked that movie. I want to say if I had to guess, it probably a 7 or 8. For
Hmm.
her. I'm
Okay.
sure she'll text.
All right. So getting into the show proper, we got some housekeeping in order. You can go ahead and download this episode on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and more. Make sure you go ahead and give us a review. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, give us a like. It'll help spread the news that we're doing a live stream. And of course, you guys want to be part of a positive Star Wars community here in the live chat, as we always have it every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Starrapter YouTube channel. So, getting into things for out this week, Ben, I'm not sure if you read this, but the Thrawn Alliances miniseries has begun in comic book form. Have you read the 2017 Thrawn novel by Timothy Zahn,
Um,
or listened to it or
I
anything?
read I read whatever I don't remember the exact names of each of those books, but I read whatever the first Thrawn book was that came out
Yep,
under Disney.
that's the
Okay,
one.
that's the one that I've read before.
Okay, so they've also adapted that first one into comic book form.
Mm,
And they've now done alliances. One of 4 issues is out, issue number 1. Great job. Even Timothy Zahn is actually writing this too, which is really cool because the first adaptation, it was only Jodie Hauser. I don't want to put her down, but only she's a great author in her own right. So it's really cool that she's being able to tag team it with the man himself, Tim Zahn, and I think that shows because this was a really jam packed issue. And it covered all the ground, and it's just this is that book for those of you that are unaware. Thrawn Alliances came out maybe 2018 or something like that, 2019. And it's that Vader and Thrawn story where Vader is working with Thrawn to find out what this big darkness power coming out of the unknown regions is. And then there's a parallel story in the past where it's Thrawn working with Anakin Skywalker. So it's this really cool dichotomy, juxtaposition of like the Clone War story with Padme, and then it's the contemporary story in the present day with the Galactic Civil War. This is the first appearance of the Grisk, so I'm very excited to finally see what they're going to look like because we have not ever seen an official image of what the Grisk look like. So we're finally going to get that here. And I still firmly believe, at least I hope that they are, revisited in a
yeah.
future on screen version of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome to have that happen just because it would just open up a new it would just be kind of our our pseudo Yuuzhan Vong like
Yeah.
appearing.
Yep.
That's basically what they would be, which would be cool because it's like give us a bigger threat like that everybody's scared of, not just the rebels or not just the Jedi or whoever's scared of. Like make it be a bigger threat that even the Empire is scared of. So that'd be really cool. And then like another little side thing about that, even that first Thrawn book is, I think one of the coolest things about that is just the relationship between Thrawn and Anakin slash Vader because
Mm.
you know I like that like Thrawn never directly addresses to him that he knows he's Anakin,
Yeah.
but he says like little lines just to get little side
Yep.
shot jabs at him just to get Vader tensed up, even though Vader knows he can't really kill Thrawn because he's like such like
Mm-hmm.
a high up person. So I like that Thrawn puts in just some little quips at Vader just to like to rile him up basically.
Yeah, it's
um
pretty fun because even in this very first issue of Thrawn Alliances, there's a moment where they're aboard the Chimera, the flagship of Thrawn, and Thrawn's Commander Faro, has a suggestion because they're trying to figure out this anomaly, why they got pulled out of hyperspace. So Commander Faro's like, if you allow me to say something, and she says something, and Vader cuts her off, and is like, and he looks at Thrawn, he's like, you allow your underlings to suggest things like this? He's like, and Vader gives an order to this other person, says, no, you got to do this. And then Thrawn says, belay that order. No, you're going to do this. And then Vader's basically like, if you ever do that again, I'm going to basically kill you, is what he says. He doesn't say that exactly, but you can tell, obviously, like, oh crap, like these two guys are duking it out. And Vader usually, he has power over everybody. But like you said, between Grand Moff Tarkin, Grand Admiral Thrawn, these are the only contemporaries to Vader that he
Yeah.
actually has to respect to a certain
Well,
degree.
look at
Because
Tarkin. I mean, look at Tarkin in A New Hope. Like he literally, when
hmm
Vader's choking, what's his name? He says, "Release him," and like Vader
yeah,
actually listens.
I know.
So
So
it's cool. It's cool seeing that sort of that sort of thing, and it's cool even just saying about him. It's cool that with like Tarkin as well as Thrawn, they like kind of like pseudo retcon slash added the backstory relationships, because we see Anakin and Tarkin having a relationship in Clone Wars, and then like we have Thrawn and Anakin being in the books and stuff, and like it's cool like they've added in that sort of also Anakin connection to both Thrawn and
yeah,
Tarkin's character.
yeah, and then this is really cool because in the last episode of Ahsoka, it's referenced that Thrawn knows Vader, and this is why he knows Vader from this story. So I like how Filoni just threw that in there. Like, yeah, us book fans are cheering in the background, like, yeah, it all counts. Everything,
Yep.
paper going into on screen, it's there. So this is that story. If you're interested in on what those
Yep.
adventures were like, well, this is going to be the Thrawn Alliance's adaptation for you guys coming out. And I have a longer discussion, as always, every Wednesday with Matthew over on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel or on the Tractor Beam show there every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, breaking that down. Next week is another big week for comics. It's been a very big month for Star Wars comics because a couple weeks ago we had the Bounty Hunters issue. That was the last one for that series. Now we have the final issue of Dr. Aphra in issue number 40 coming out this upcoming week. So another character that we don't know the fate of. I highly doubt she's going to get killed off or anything like that. But it'll be very interesting to see how that series concludes nonetheless. There was another comic that came out this week, another High Republic comic, High Republic Adventures issue number 2. So more on that, you can get into that with my video review of both of these issues I talked about on this channel right here as well. All right, getting into, we have a couple like smaller news stories I want to jump into before we get to the headliner for this week. The first one being, speaking of comics, you guys are going to like this one as well. Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red is revealed. So in April, we're going to get this Darth Maul 4-issue miniseries anthology series about Darth Maul before the Phantom Menace. We're getting a lot of prequel tie-in content, guys, for the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace this year, right? We have Mace Windu #1 coming out, I think, next week or the week after. We're getting like 2 prequel books in The Glass Abyss, which is a Mace Windu novel, as well as The Living Force, which is a pre-Phantom Menace novel. We're getting a Jango Fett comic, and now we got an announcement of a Darth Maul comic, so prequel fans are eating good this year already. And this is cool because I don't know if you guys know about the concept. They did a Darth Vader Black, White, and
Yep.
Red earlier last year, and it's basically all supposed to be mature, ultra violent, no holds bar on all these really evil, vicious characters. So it makes perfect sense that they're doing this for Darth Maul. I mean, first of all, as Matthew pointed out, this guy is literally black and red. So why wouldn't you have him as the poster boy for this kind of thing? So I'm excited. They put out a little bit of a synopsis for the very first issue. Again, there's going to be different writers and a creative team for art on each issue. But the first issue is pretty cool because he's going to go on a mission for Palpatine to go after this final occultist, this different faction that's introduced in this issue, stirring up things. He's got to go on this transport and just destroy them. So I'm all for this. Like, I want to see more adventures about Maul before Phantom Menace because we did get that one miniseries, Darth Maul miniseries, literally, with him, Cad Bane, Aura Singh, all these cool bounty hunters teaming up to go after a Jedi. Obviously, he can't really be doing too much with the Jedi because it kind of would ruin the story of Phantom Menace. But it is really cool nonetheless to see more Maul in the underworld. So I'll throw it over to you, Milton. Would you, if you were to pick up comics, would you pick up a Darth Maul comic such as this?
I mean, yeah, he's a very
Yeah.
fascinating character. We really don't know too much about him per se, in the sense of, I mean, we understand where he comes from,
hmm
how he was quote unquote like created from the Night Sisters, whatnot. But I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to see what he was doing before the prequels. Now, I know if you're a true fan of Legends, you need to read the Darth Vader's book, where you see how he's first introduced to Palpatine. He's a baby, and then how Palpatine, took him to. I think it was it Mustafar? He had him
Malachor?
raised first like couple years. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see that, and obviously, I think was it Shadowhunters, the one book.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So
so
like,
good.
again, deep dive, man. If you're a Legends fan, you know this stuff. So you get to see a little bit of what he was doing. But if this comic book is giving us more in depth of his character, I'm all about it.
Hell yeah. Shadowhunter is one of the Legends audiobooks I listened to last year. I talked about it a few times, narrated by Sam Witwer, who does the voice, of course, of both the Emperor in that as well as Maul himself. Fantastic read. Deals with the Coruscant underworld, and it leads literally up to the events of him appearing in Phantom Menace. So I'm hoping that we get like a story that relates to that or something in a way would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to get that version of Shadowhunter because I have the original audiobook, like 90 something, 2000 something. So like that one's okay. I hear the Sam Witwer like version is so much better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean that's awesome. It's always great getting more stories about like, Darth Maul, and like when I saw that too, I first thought, oh man, yeah, this is like the Vader, the Vader one from last year. So it's cool that they're doing that with him, and also, with this, it makes me wonder as well, are they gonna like just continue kind of this line with like a featured character like every other year, like, we had Vader and Darth Maul, like what's next? Is it like
Kylo Ren.
Palpatine or Kylo Ren or someone? Yeah, and Kylo, like
I could totally see Kylo Ren.
All these sort of characters, like I think it'd be really cool just to see more of them. I mean, heck, even they could do like the Inquisitors or something, like the Inquisitorial, like the whole organization, like do something like that. Like there's so many good characters they could do from like the bad guys perspective. Like it would be really, really neat to see how they would just pull it off.
Oh yeah, I mean this is almost like Star Wars Visions in a way, right? You're giving creators their shot at writing a comic book, an artist maybe first attempt or even a seasoned artist to go in there and play in the Star Wars playground, not being too attached to the hit because it is just a single issue in its own anthology, right? So it's not super it's not like super involved with these creators. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, go ahead. April, we got that coming out. So there's a couple months worth of Star Wars comics leading off in 2024. Every month we're getting a new issue of a new series starting up. So very excited for that, but something I'm even more excited for. Actually, I was about to lead into Bad Batch. There's one more story. I'll mention this real quick. There has been more toy announcements. I look at these things more than I buy them, definitely these days. But we got the Hasbro fan cast revealed a bunch of things. Another Grogu, another Mando. Oh, big whoop, more Mandalorians. Another Sabine. The big thing for me, though, was a Black Series Droideka. I don't think I've ever seen an action figure of this damn thing in 25 years. And it looks glorious. And apparently it can fold into a ball and you could like roll it across the floor. So I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty good for, even though they're giving us those more Mandos, more Grogus, it's like, okay, good. We at least got something original. Besides that, there's also Grand Admiral Thrawn in the likeness of Lars Mikkelsen from Ahsoka. And it looks like hot toy quality. Like his face is what they do with these darn figures anymore. It's just ridiculous. It looks like hot toys quality in this image. It's nuts. Yeah. So there you go. We don't know when they'll be coming out, but stop by our Target or a Walmart and maybe you'll get lucky enough to snag one. But into the main event, we have the Bad Batch announced, and it's funny how this was announced. I always talk about how they make these Star Wars announcements, whether it's a random Tuesday with a new movie announcement. But yeah, they announced this on a Monday. Usually Monday, we don't really get much news on any front for anything entertainment-wise. Put on my tinfoil hat. We were talking about this last week. There was a bit of, we didn't talk about it, but we know there was a negativity in the community going around. It was like, come on, just put out something now, guys. And literally that worked again. It literally worked again.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's I say it all the time. Not to bring up any of the details, any of that stuff, but like when Star Wars, no matter what like quote unquote side Star Wars fans are on or anything. When Star Wars fans have free time on their hands with no trailers, no announcements, no shows to talk about, etc., that's when they get bored and come up with controversies to argue about for no reason. And so that's why it's just like we needed this trailer, and it's like you said, it just feels like they did that to kind of squash that and just put people's focus on Bad Batch. And especially since coming out February 21st, like, we have only a few weeks basically to wait for it. So now, fans can get excited for it. Star Wars will put out more promotion, and now Star Wars fans aren't going to be like bored or whatever. And in the meantime, and the good thing is, since we have the whole schedule for the show with the titles and everything, like they we know the dates and whatnot, so we can kind of see like even potentially what's coming up next. Like, since like this show ends in May, that pretty much means, Acolyte will probably be like June, July, August or something. It'll be a summer show most likely, because there's always like a little break. There's like a 4 to 6 week break. So it's going to be like maybe end of June, July or August. Like maybe Acolyte ends up in like kind of the Andor window, like beginning of August or something.
Yeah, I just really. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I was just wrapping my point there. But yeah, I was just saying maybe that like with us knowing these details about Bad Batch, it's gonna like let us kind of lay out the groundwork for the rest of this year for Star Wars content.
Yeah, I love that. Being able to just circle, a number on the calendar and be like, "Hey, this is what we can look forward to." Now we can get the speculation turning. Now it could be like, "Oh, let's dive into these topics of Bad Batch before we start talking about reviews every week." But the thing that I'm really hoping Lucasfilm did Bad Batch dirty last year, because they just started putting Mandalorian episodes the same day or whatever it was. And it's like, really? Because like nobody talked about Bad Batch anymore once Mando came out. And season 3 wasn't all that good. We could all agree. Like, we did not enjoy season 3 as much as 1 or 2. And yet we were sitting there going, some of these Bad Batch episodes, Milton, like the Emperor one with the whole Stormtrooper program, one of the best episodes of Star Wars anything ever made, live action or animation. And right, it's like they delivered on some of those amazing episodes, and it just got washed away with Mando hype. So I'm hoping that Acolyte doesn't come out the same time. Please don't let that come out the same time.
Well, here's the thing. Before I get to that point, Ben, Detroit's up 21-7.
Go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's trash. To get about Bad Batch, you make a good point about last year. Mandalorian definitely overshadowed that show, as it should, because that is between the two, that's the crown jewel. However, this is season 3 of Bad Batch, final season. It's earned its opportunity to be like a solo act to finish off its final season without any hiccups, in a sense of don't put nothing to take viewership away. It's earned this chance to finish out this series with by itself, no other shows, in the way. I think with how it ended, we should be able to focus week to week on that particular show. I think it deserved to have that single audience. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah.
it certainly does.
100%. Like, even like you said, even with the third season, or with the last season of Bad Batch being what it was, like, it's still, in my opinion, I don't care what show it is, like, there should, if it's the final season of a series, like, the company producing it should allow it to stand on its own.
Yeah.
Even like like go rewind it back to like Game of Thrones. Like, don't get me wrong, Game of Thrones is one of the greatest shows in all of history, but it would have been a dumb decision if HBO would have launched another show on top of Game of Thrones' final season. And they didn't, though. They let Game of Thrones just ride itself out. And that's what I really hope Lucasfilm does it, because the problem is, there's so much hype. Well, there's so much, not even hype. There's so much speculation and chatter around Acolyte, where it's like, this is like a Jedi, Sith show. People are going to be interested in it. And if that show gets launched halfway through Bad Batch, it's going to crush the back half of Bad Batch's season. So hopefully they don't cross it over. And, like you said, so it just earns its own time period. And then it'll give us a better marketing period for Acolyte as well. Maybe we'll get like better interviews from the people involved, etc., and like more hype around that show leading into it.
Heck yeah. So we spent enough time talking around the content. Let's talk about the content that we've seen in the trailer. I'm going to throw it over to Milton. What was your first impressions of the trailer?
Palpatine,
Mm-hmm.
like Palpatine, he always stands out. I mean, and that's a blessing and a curse because he's the greatest villain of all time when it comes to Star Wars, in my opinion. But also too, like, it's Ian McDermott, he's back, and it's cool to see. Like, I'm curious, how are they going to use the Emperor, even though we know the Empire is growing at this point and it's becoming more powerful, and it pretty much it's his iron fist. Like, you're seeing the prime of it at this point in the sense of its creation. How are they going to utilize the Palpatine for its? I'm sure he's not going to be in every episode. He'll probably be in maybe 2, 3 tops. But what's his purpose in this season? So I'm curious.
Oh, go on.
No, but that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to bounce off your point there, Milton. Like, I'm really curious about Palpatine as well this season. That was one of my initial impressions as well. Was, of course, Palpatine, Ventress, and then just kind of everything else. And like the thing is with Palpatine that like makes me really interested in it is like you said, it's he's going to be probably 2 to 3 episodes max, but he'll be really impactful. We saw how impactful he was in the last season with the Stormtrooper program, and it makes me wonder now. So like with Ventress, we'll get into the whole Ventress thing, but so like with Ventress, just on the surface level with her, okay, the bad guys have to have a character because presumably Ventress will probably be on the good side. I would assume at some point. But the bad guys, it's kind of like the Ahsoka show. Ahsoka with you have Ahsoka, but you also have the Dathomir witches to help Thrawn out. Okay, so you have Ventress on the good guys side, who on the rebel side, who is going to be the person of competitive power level for the Empire? Are they going to send in a Vader? Are they going to send in, maybe we get something like, maybe we get a scene where it's sort of the end of the season and the Emperor comes out and, Ventress has to like save the crew or something. And like, she kind of has to hold off the Emperor. Like maybe the Emperor's like, oh, you're back, young one, blah, 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 or something, something like that. Because the thing is, if they just straight up use Ventress as a lightsaber wielding, like, almost like not even gray Jedi, but just a Force user, like she would be more powerful than any of the stormtroopers they come across. So it makes you wonder what they're going to do for like a power level to equalize it out. Because that's kind of like how it is like with Star Wars, or like even like with you being a fan of wrestling, Milton. Like in WWE, like they're not going to just put out one amazing wrestler and then have some schlub. They're going to have someone of somewhat competitive power level, so then it's a good match. And like I think we could see something like that with Ventress.
I agree. I mean, with that comparison of wrestling, you want to always build. You want to always build up. Like you want your baby face to be in a position where they can potentially challenge your champion or your heel, and they may have a shot. You also want them to be in a position where, oh my God, can they actually win? Like you want to always have that doubt. But like I get it. I'm curious to see how we're going to use her, because I know in the book, didn't she potentially die at some point?
She dies. Okay.
Yeah. So and I know like that could be kind of retconned, but we'll see.
Here, let's jump off that point, because that was one of the biggest things, myself included. Going, my quick reaction was watching this thing and literally going, "What? This doesn't make any sense." I love the trailer, but I was just so gobsmacked by the idea that Asajj Ventress lives. As somebody that read Dark Disciple, when she gets electrocuted by Force lightning with Dooku to sacrifice herself to save Quinlan, that was such a really memorable death, a really great coming to conclusion moment for her as a character arc, being this evil character and then sacrificing herself for the good of this Jedi, like that turned to the dark side at one point. Like Quinlan was on the dark side as a pupil of Dooku. It's such a great story. You guys got to read it if you haven't already, and especially now with this coming out. Like I already seen Christy Golden, the author, said this is automatically it's skyrocketed on Amazon.
So here's a crazy stat, guys, to show you like how interested Star Wars fans were in this whole Ventress like controversy, I guess. So she posted her book was in the 100,000 plus range of how far it was down on Amazon Books, and it shot up to 1850. Like it shot up 98,000 spots.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
so that's how much buzz people were clicking into her book, potentially buying it, looking at the reviews, like clicking into it because it just shot it right up the charts on Amazon. And
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
So then StarWars.com did their due diligence, and I like what they don't usually talk about stuff like this, but they already knew what the reaction of the fans were going to be. They didn't want to have a crisis on their hands, so they went out there with the article that announced Bad Batch. They put in this little blurb here, which I'll say, and this is from Brad Rowell, who is one of the showrunners of this. And he is saying, we love Asajj Ventress. He's a character that we've been been wanting to tell more stories about. And let's say, we don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciples. So that immediately sets aside most doubt of like, okay, they aren't retconning. They're not just saying, oh, throw that book in the garbage. They're gonna somehow weave events. And I mean, we've seen so many instances of Star Wars characters surviving more crazier deaths than this. I mean, I hate to talk about it, but the Obi-Wan show, right? We got 2 people stabbed through the supposed heart with a fatal blow that came back to life. Sabine Wren also got stabbed through the chest, came back to life.
By Vader.
Palpatine fell down a shaft and reincarnated into another body. There's always a way around it, whether or not it's yeah.
Oh yeah, go on, Chris. Sorry.
And I feel like getting zapped by lightning is probably the easiest way to retcon that. Like the body's still intact, didn't explode into 50,000 pieces. It's not like it fell down a shaft and they have to find her body. Like her body was right there. Dooku probably, when the story ended, Dooku was like, "Oh, this might be useful for Palpatine's project on Tantus. Let me deliver it to him." You know, it's like, and I feel like that could be speculative. We'll get into that speculation more.
I think a lot of it too with Star Wars. Like I'm definitely critical on how they handle canon with things because I feel like they do. It's kind of like John Campia's famous line. He always talks about this stuff. He's like, canon is canon until they decide to change it. It's kind of true. But my thing with all this stuff, like I saw so many people like debating this story, like the Ventress Dark Disciple stuff, the bringing up other canon instances and inconsistencies and things, and all this stuff. And like to me, at the end of the day, I had to pull this up to tell you guys on the podcast because I knew we were gonna get onto this topic. So like people, people were debating this like so hard the other day. Like it was becoming the next thing for Star Wars fans to fight about. Like, oh my gosh, now I don't want to buy any books and blah blah blah, right? Or I'm gonna read more books, blah blah blah, like all these things. And like my thing is, at the end of the day, like I tweeted. So just to give you an example, guys. So this tweet I posted had 23 retweets, 6 quotes, 258 likes, and it was viewed 15,000 times.
What?
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, and because it was in the heat of everybody, talking about it, and I posted after the release of the hashtag Bad Batch trailer today. I saw so many Star Wars fans. Discussing and debating quote unquote canon. For me, I don't care if it's canon or legend or not canon or whatever. As long as it's good Star Wars storytelling, it's good Star Wars storytelling. Like that's my thing with Star Wars fans. It's like, guys, okay, canon is like is a cool concept for like continuity, etc. But like, don't let the canon label or lack thereof canon label like make you enjoy or not enjoy certain stories less or worse. Like for example, I've been listening through the second Hand of Thrawn book, Visions of the Future.
Yeah.
And that's been an amazing book, and it's been better than any of the stories I've read recently, I've had, like, it's been better than like the Bad Batch stories from the show. It's been better than, a lot of the stories we've gotten on screen from like Kenobi or Mando, etc. But I don't care that it's not canon or not. It's still a good Star Wars story. And like, people need to remember that when it comes to this whole Ventress thing. Like, if you still, okay, like they could come out and straight up say, hey, Dark Disciple, not canon anymore. okay, big whoop. Like it's still a really good story. So like people just need to remember that when they're debating these things. Like it's so minutia, and like at the end of the day, like just because something's labeled one way or another shouldn't affect your enjoyment at all. I mean, like look at how many old like audiobooks you listen to, Milton. Like you listen to so many stories that are not canon, but it doesn't matter because you still enjoy them because they're really good, just really good fun Star Wars stories.
Heck yeah.
But I just had
That's
to get that
awesome.
in on this ventures topic because I knew I just could already see like if people are listening to this or watching this, like they're probably thinking about like the canon stuff and all that, and it's just like, guys, we got to remember at the end of the day, if you enjoy a certain Star Wars story, just enjoy it. Like who cares?
Yeah. And I think with any point, it's a good time to jump into our
Yep.
analysis of this trailer. So I handpicked a bunch of screenshots, as we often do. This good stuff here. I mean, it's great to know that we're still in that era that is right after Revenge of the Sith because they're still using a lot of clone equipment, but it is fun seeing that there's actually stormtroopers piloting these instead of clone troopers nowadays.
Or like incorporated into the clone trooper tech. Like like for me, I like seeing that type of a crossover just because it's kind of it's cool seeing that like transition over to the Empire.
Yeah, it's nostalgic to see that for sure.
Yeah, it's great to see the evolution, right? Like that's what Bad Batch excels at. Like we talked about plot with The Last Jedi, right? Like what's the point of the story? What is it doing? Bad Batch, simply put, the plot is how do you transition from a republic to an empire? What does the stormtrooper look like? How does it go from clone trooper to stormtrooper? We're not getting a comic. We're not getting a novel. We're getting an entire series of like 40 something episodes to tell this story, and it's been gradual but very very methodical in process, and it makes so much sense. Again, going back to the emperor scene that we all quote all the time, such good stuff. All right.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I'm a huge fan of is a turbo tank. We've been seeing this thing get glorified lately. Ever since Revenge of the Sith, it popped up on Wobani and Rogue One. It popped up in The Mandalorian in season 2, episode 7. These things have been seeing a lot of cool effects, and I like seeing this in action. And this reminds me, guys, this reminds me of the season 2 opener of Bad Batch when they were on that island and there was all those bug creatures and they were running around. It was very vibrant, very cool, and it was like you were right in the middle of the action, like any good Star Wars story, right? You pick up right in the action. You're just like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna just go with it. And this kind of feels like it could be the season 2 opener. I have no clue how it could be, but I just get the energy from this little like going between it. You got the one pirate queen character showing up, Fee or something like that.
Yep. Yeah.
No, I think this is probably part of the premiere, like 3 episodes. I mean, because they tend to show a lot for the premieres
Yep.
and these like promos, but no, this particular vehicle, it's always been dope. I mean, it kind of reminds me of an old video game I used to play when I was younger in like the late '90s called Total Annihilation on my computer. It looks like one of these like robotic like machine like trucks. I don't know. It's cool. I've always liked these prequel ships and vehicles.
Oh yeah. It's definitely one of the cooler vehicles I would say from the prequels.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Getting into the next one here. So again, just seeing it dock, seeing pick like dropping off the troopers is really neat, really neat. And oh yeah, so there's our first look at a battle hardened, a grizzled hunter. It's cool because the poster for season 3 is a very battered up helmet of Hunter, and we're talking about Bad Batch's final season. I don't know if it's going to end well for some of these troopers. We've already seen one go down, right? We already seen poor Tech fall to his defeat on Eriadu, the home planet of Grand Moff Tarkin. Actually, we see him fall, a heroic death nonetheless, but he's out of the picture. So this story is not gonna hold your hand, as we've already seen. And well, look at Rebels. Where are these characters? Did they just go off on their own? Did they go to Tanalorr with Cal Kestis and the rest of the crew to escape the Empire? Where the heck are they? Or are they just simply getting offed? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Caleb, there's no way. I mean, like, unless, like, I don't know. I just don't. For me, story wise, I just don't see it happening where they all survive. Maybe what's her name? The
Omega.
girl,
Omega.
Mega. She's the only one I can see surviving. Just because she's a critical part of what Palpatine wants to do with the cloning. But as for the other troopers, I think their purpose is to die. I think that's going to help the show get over, to push why the Empire did what they did, to push the clone or the trooper program. So I don't know. I think their sacrifice might be needed, but if they do survive, hopefully it's smart.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a like a pseudo Rogue One type thing. How each hero has their own their own little going out scene, basically. Kind of how, like, you saw the the blind guy and the big guy, they get taken out. You see it goes to like Bodhi the pilot. It goes to
Yeah.
all these different characters. I think that's what we're gonna probably get by the end of this season. Maybe in the finale it'll be like, you get Wrecker having to do some big, like, strong guy thing, where he has to go in and, like, maybe, like, I don't know, disarm something, or something or another, and, like, maybe he gets taken out, and then it's just gonna progress, and then it'll probably, like, if I had to predict, it's probably gonna, like, stuff. And, like, we had that in Legends. Heck, we even had that. I just a few weeks back I played through the Battlefront 2 campaign, and there's literally a mission called the Clone Uprising, where
Yep.
you go as stormtroopers to go and wipe out all the remaining clones on Kamino. So, like, there's premise for that in Legends and in video games already. So it's just like, I think there's a chance we see it in this, just because of all the foreshadowing for it.
Oh yeah. And here we have Captain Rex, and what I like about it's very subtle. It's a very subtle change, but you actually get to see a change in his armor, his character appearance, because he now doesn't have like the pauldron that he had earlier in season 2 or in Clone Wars. You see him with that black and blue pauldron. That is no longer on there. And if you look at him in Rebels, he doesn't have that on Rebels either. So it's kind of like that slow build up to where we see him like 5 years before A New Hope. At this point, we're still like probably like 12 or 13 years before we see him again in Rebels, I would assume, something like that. But it's just nice seeing the attention to detail is all.
Oh yeah, it's good. Those type of little tidbits are what fans like.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. And this, I should probably turn off the brightness, but this is a building that looks to be, I don't know. It could be Teth from the Clone Wars movie because Teth was built on this like plateau in the middle of nowhere, and it was great. It was a great moment in the Clone Wars movie when they're climbing up like the side of the face with the ATT, and there's like crazy rock music going on. So I don't know, threw this in there because hey, why not? Why not bring it all the way around full circle to the Clone Wars movie for the final season of the Bad Batch? Kind of tie a bow on that whole saga and whatnot.
Was this where Teth was that? They weren't working with the Hutts at this point. Where that? I can't remember that. I know this building. I forget why they were there though.
Yeah, they went there because they had to get the stinky, the rot of the hut.
It's a little stinky. Oh man.
Yep. Yeah, this is neat. Is this their ship, guys? I mean, the Bad Batch's ship as far as this is concerned. I forget the name of their ship actually at this point.
I think it is by the look of it.
Is
I
it
think
called like
it's
the
just
Marauder?
the
the
Marauder.
Marauder.
The Marauder,
Marauder, yeah.
yes. Could this be the
Good call.
Marauder? I don't know. But it's neat to know that it's an evocative image, right? It's like, oh crap, if their ship is destroyed, that's their home, and how worse could it get if their home is destroyed? You know, like it's amplifying the tension, the suspense that we could be getting from this last season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got a reminder of tech. Yeah, there's some theories out there saying, oh, maybe he's not quite dead. I don't know, but it's a very far drop that this guy fell from. So.
Trying to tell me that he lived. Miss me with that.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like if they honestly would bring him back, I mean, let's just ask the question: if they would bring him back, that would be it'd be a cheat. It'd be disrespectful for what they were trying to build in last season.
Yeah.
The only thing, guys, I've seen people like talk about this a little bit, and the only thing that makes me a little antsy about him coming back or like credence to it is like, what if the Empire recovered him because they were wanting to capture some of these clones, you know, because of their mutations and stuff. So it's
yeah. And
so,
remember,
you know,
That makes
so
sense.
Did the Empire recover him?
Yeah, that would be reasonable. However, I mean, it's just like the whole thing with like, I mean, I'm using another brand, but Marvel, like people always coming back to life or whatnot, or people not really dying. Like, do we really need that in Star Wars? I mean, I knew we have some of that here or there, but oh boy, I mean, he fell.
But here's the thing.
He was a human.
Now Palpatine. Now look, people say, well, Palpatine did it. Well, Palpatine was using magic to transform or to transition to another clone body. I don't think the clones had that type of power.
What about the idea that, Hemlock? Yes, I saved myself. It's hard remembering names live on a broadcast sometimes, guys. But Hemlock had recovered his goggles. Like he went out of his way to get the guy's goggles. So you know what, Ben? I think you're onto something. And the rest of the people out there on the internet, you might be onto something. And I have another thing that will solidify that theory even more as we get further through these screenshots here. But what do you guys think about this? This is pretty awesome. The I don't know if this is the clones. Wait, I can't actually make it out because it's. I should have probably looked at this a little closer before just talking about it. But whoever this is, this force, whether the Empire or the clone uprising, they're getting mobilized. I like seeing this many characters in animation at once. I think it's pretty brilliant to see the animators throwing in this amount of assets in one go like this. So it's pretty cool to see like, hey, Lucasfilm, like, hey, you guys got to tell your story, tell it in the most epic fashion as possible. Let's see like an all-out war here, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love this shot. I think it was one of the better shots of the trailer, and it just, it makes you interested. Like, it kind of gives you flashbacks to the old Clone Wars, or even like the Battlefront games. Like, it just reminds you of like a battle you'd see.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Here's our shot at Omega, and now in the narration of this trailer, it is said that it's been a long time. So I don't know if it's been weeks, months, maybe even a year or two. But yeah, I mean, she's in captivity with Crosshair, and they're experimenting, or they are going to experiment. They want her genetic code. You know, she's tied to Boba Fett. She's tied to the clones, as we all know. So it's you know, just a check up on this character. How long is she going to be in captivity? Is she going to be broken out within the first 3 episodes? I hope not. But I don't want to see her trapped too long. I think there's a lot of room for her to grow. She grew a lot in season 2 for sure. She was literally a bona fide part of the crew in season 2. So I'm very excited to see where her story goes. How does she develop? What is special? Do we find out more details about how special she is? Because there's been a lot of nods, but there's still so much story to tell for her.
Not facts. I mean, I think obviously the biggest. I mean, this should be her season just because we need to know what's going to happen with her. Like again, I feel like the main troopers that we fell in love with the Bad Batch are going to sacrifice themselves for her, but I don't think she's going to die. And I think this season needs to really show why she doesn't die and what's her actual purpose moving forward in the Star Wars, saga.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I like see my thing. You know, that's a good point. I hadn't even really thought of like the time length she would be captured though. You know, Chris, now that you mentioned that, like I hadn't thought of that. Even God, I watched this trailer a few times and I didn't even think about maybe she'll be captured a while because like I could see the show busting her out on the finale or something, like, you know, breaking her out at the end of the finale, at the end of the first 3 episodes when we watch it on the first day. But then is it like, or are we gonna have a situation where it's like, you know, she comes back in like the 10th or 11th episode or something, like 3, 4, you know, like somewhere a little past the midway point of the season, because maybe the first 3 episodes it's the main crew trying to like find her or like freaking out trying to find her, and then they have to get info, then they have to team up, they'll probably do like a side mission and then do another little side mission and then eventually get to her or something. Like, you know, are we going to have a build up like that where it's more of like a process for them to get to her versus like you know, because you got to kind of like not repurpose, like walk backwards on the steps, because the thing is with her, you got to consider they also have to figure out how to get to Mount Tantus. So you have that whole, like, that's pretty much like, I would say that's like the A storyline, because they have to figure out how to get there to find her to begin with. So it's just that's the mission. And that's another thing, guys, to consider too. Hey, we're going to probably see, you know, we're going to be seeing Mount Tantus, like, you know, we've never really seen it in on visually. So we're going to actually finally see it after all these years, you know, hell, since it's been introduced back in the, you know, the OG Thrawn trilogy. Like, so it'll be cool finally getting to see that.
Yeah, and speaking of Wayland, speaking of Mount Tantus, that's also where Crosshair is. And Milton, I know you and me both were just floored by that Crosshair, that single episode of him with the troopers, his other clone comrade, and then just going down and the despicable guy that he ended up shooting at the end, and we all cheered. It was like, yeah, that was so cathartic. That was great. And we've seen so much depth in this otherwise one note character. I mean, this guy was literally one note. And speaking of one note, you're looking at this image here. There's so much emotion in this one frame. The amount of detail and care that the animators took into like making them look just devastated. Like, we've never seen Crosshair looking like this before. Like, he is literally broken to the bone.
I mean, from what I'm seeing, maybe it's a lot of regret he's having. Maybe he's like, oh, I joined the wrong side, or maybe this isn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be, again, maybe I'm just guessing, but he probably realizes, oh, wait, my brothers probably were right the whole time. You know, I should have gone with them. I shouldn't have been following orders. Like, you know, good soldiers shouldn't follow orders. You know, let's look at that. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of conflict that he's thinking about, a lot of regrets he's having in his past.
Oh yeah, I think with him, you know, this image, it just makes me think, you know, like you said, Milton, it's gonna be like regrets he's thinking about, and then he's gonna be at a point in the show where, you know, he has to like what do you call it when you like quit the army?
Discharge.
It'll be like where he has to like get discharged or like leave, like, because he's gonna try to like eventually go back to, you know, I would assume we're probably going to be getting, like we said, all the heroes will maybe get taken out by the end of this, and I think Crosshair could be a pivotal player in that, Or like, maybe our heroes are in like a critical fight and Crosshair finally like pops in and they're like, "Oh brother, you're back with us, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. We forgive you, help us out, blah blah blah," or something. Like, Crosshair I think is going to have his redeeming moment of this show. So yeah, I think this is just like kind of the first, like the seeds of it, like, where he's going to start thinking about it, and then, it's going to really get the ball rolling.
All right.
And here we go with Hemlock flanked by Commandos. Clone, or not even clone. Oh, I get, yeah, clone Commandos. This guy kind of came up late in the game, right? We thought our villain was Rampart for the longest time until Palpatine threw his own guy under the bus as a scapegoat for the creation of the Stormtrooper Corps. It's like, wow. And this guy, I dig him. He's got this aura to him. This real evil, like doctor guy that has this master plan, and another strong villain in Star Wars. Yeah, he's a little bit mustache twirling, true, but I do hope we get a little bit deeper into him. What makes him this way? Maybe we get a little bit of his backstory this season.
And he's kind of a scumbag to me. He could die. But that's the sign of a good villain. I mean, just because he's not animated, which I'm glad they don't make him like that. Who's the general for Hux? They don't make him like Hux, where he's
Yep.
screaming weird, but on presence. However, he's a snake / scumbag who just doesn't really care about others. It's weird. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I think his character is probably gonna be our primary villain, I would say, of this season.
Yeah, a big bomb that dropped, metaphorically speaking, of course, is the idea of this one character who I'm failing at the name right now that runs things, scientist on Mount Tantus. The one with the goggles is the sister of Omega, right? I think that was the last
Yep.
episode.
Yep. That was the big, I guess, big shocking moment in the finale. But yes.
So how's she gonna play into things, right? We got this big thing with Omega being part of the Bad Batch, genetic wise, and now we have this other character. So there's a lot of mysteries surrounding another character, and that's what makes Star Wars so great. Is one of the things is all the speculation and the cool little puzzles that are along the way. And this is another one that's kind of a wild card out there thrown at us. Like, don't know which way this is gonna go.
Yeah. Omega Senior.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, right? Like, I was really hoping to see Boba Fett in this series because once they name dropped him, I'm like, oh, that's for sure going to mean that he's going to show up at some point. But I don't really think so.
but I think we talked about this last season. Would it be necessary for him to be in it though?
At this point, no. If this show was like maybe 5 seasons, I could definitely see him being part of it. But the show's got to wrap up now. I can't imagine them introducing such a big character and then just having him for like one single episode and then like, no. Like this thing, right? Last season, as much as we like this show, we got to be true to ourselves. Even though we've seen the whole thing, we were looking in hindsight. There were weeks where we got those episodes that were just like, I don't want to call them filler, but they were
Well,
just like, okay, we had to wait a week for this episode. Like, let's get the
well,
ball rolling. We got to do things. They have no time to do that in 15 episodes for the final
yep.
season this time around.
What I think one of the big things we came out of our finale from last year's Bad Batch was, even though it was 16 episodes, to a lot. I mean, I think all three of us agreed on it in the finale when we reviewed it. Anyways, was like it felt like last season, even though it was 16 episodes, it felt like it was part one of a season. Like that finale felt like a mid-season finale. So like, a lot of those kind of fillery episodes, maybe it was just kind of like your first half of your big final season.
Yeah, true. So looking over
10 seconds. When that guy says all that stuff, everybody doesn't
Beaumont
even like
Kim.
no one
Beaumont
reacts.
Kim.
They just keep on moving, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, that was some serious info, and everyone's like, nah, we'll just accept it.
It's ridiculous.
But to get to this point, though, Chris, about Wayland and Mount Tantus, I like you said, I think a lot of this does have to do with the Palpatine cloning stuff, of course. I mean, I feel like it's just obvious, but I like that they're doing this with Wayland and Mount Tantus, just because, you know, as our listeners know and you guys know, like a few months ago, I finished up the Thrawn original trilogy, and like, you know, Mount Tantus, the original purpose of that in those books was pretty much a cloning. You know, it was holding turns good, like, because there's a lot of parallels to what we saw from those Thrawn books with this, just to begin with all the clones being involved, with the Emperor being involved, as you know, as we can see. So it's just like there's a lot of things that are kind of like connecting and like showing, you know, just nods to those original Wayland concepts.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to pull up the direct quote because there's a very interesting tidbit of dialogue in this trailer. It's coming from Palpatine as he's walking through Mount Tantus. He's saying, "There's nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire." Basically, he goes, "Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it." So that is pure Palpatine. What the heck is he safeguarding on this darn planet that he is so? He's gonna give every resource he has to get this thing. It's like, whoa.
He created.
You broke up a little bit there. Can you repeat that again, Milton?
And it's probably all the Snokes that he created.
Yes.
Starting.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Can you imagine if we actually see Snoke?
Here's something to think about, guys. What if, you know, like you said, there's plenty of Snokes potentially getting created. What if, you know, like I said, they could be going more kind of inspirations from those original books, because like when Thrawn and Paleon go in and like get a tour of Mount Tantus and everything, they go in and there's a whole Coliseum full of vats of clones in there. So like, what if we get a thing in this show where Palpatine goes in and there's all kinds of just like sleeping clone bodies like floating in tanks or something?
That'd be amazing. Now, this is going to carry over of the thing I was alluding to with Tech. Now, who is this nondescript trooper? I am damn convinced this is a resuscitated, resurrected Tech in his armor. There's people going online looking at the body type of Tech and comparing, be like, that would actually match up to whoever this mysterious figure is.
Yeah, I could see it.
I could see it. I could see it. Right? Like, oh man, what happens if Crosshair is the one that gets redeemed and it ends up the Tech never gets redeemed after this? It's a swap.
Like I said, if they bring him back, it better be for a good reason.
Yep. Right here. Let's see. Getting on to.
Also, as you're pulling up the next image, Chris, just to throw in there while we're transitioning to it, the cool thing about all of this stuff, like us as fans, I think one of my biggest appreciations for this show, even just the cool legend things we're getting in it. I just think it's so cool. Like for us, for a lot of us, like say hardcore Legends fans, like like Milton and me, like it's so cool getting Ian McDiarmid's Palpatine interacting with like Legends content like Wayland and Mount Tantus. Like that is the coolest thing because like we would have never imagined Ian McDiarmid's Palpatine interacting
Oh my
with what we
gosh, you're
read
right.
about
You're
25 years
right.
ago.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it's just mind blowing because
It is.
like I would have just never imagined that connection because I figured maybe in like a video game or something or whatever, but it's the actual real life Emperor interacting with an amazing iconic Legends location.
Oh man. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one. We got Wrecker here. I had to throw in an image of Wrecker. I mean, he's just going to town with his cool ass blaster rifle. Gotta love it. You gotta love it. Moving
Oh
on.
yeah,
Moving on from that. Up. We already went through that one. Whoops. This is the one. Mig Na Wen returns as Fennec Shand. There we go. We've seen her in season 1. Let's see her again. Really enjoyed her so far in the Star Wars universe. It's great to see her back. She was squaring off against Cad Bane. Kind of owned Cad Bane. Well, I wouldn't say owned him, but she definitely bested him to a certain degree. And he's also going to be back. So look, it looks like we're pulling together all the different characters we've seen over the last couple seasons of this show, which is really exciting. Very cool silhouette.
When was Cad Bane in the Bad Batch?
yeah. Because remember he
Season
was
1.
in season 1. Remember he had Omega captured, and then he Omega tricked Toto, and she escaped, and then Cad Bane and Ming Na Wen had a showdown.
That's where I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, because in that one episode when he showed up, everybody was flipping out like, "Oh my gosh!" And he ends up having a duel with Hunter, just like owning Hunter.
Well, yeah, because remember the way Cad Bane, the way they do it with Hunter, that's when Hunter goes first person POV on the camera for us, and he gets shot. He gets shot square in the chest, and it was a kill shot if he didn't have his special armor on. Like Cad Bane shot him square like in the heart, like he would have been dead. So yeah.
And even though Camino has been destroyed, we're still getting Nalase is the correct character, I think. It's either Nalase, it's definitely not Lamasu. Yeah, this is Nalase, the scientist we've seen all the way back in the Clone Wars. So, again, it's, the legacy of the Kaminoans live on, even though the Empire's not using their services anymore. And, man, they did them dirty with just destroying their entire planet. So it's just like, we don't want your business, but we're also going to destroy you so you never have to do it. You never could do it again with anybody else. Like, damn. It's pretty cutthroat, but that's the Empire and the Emperor for you.
That is a good reflection of history, just because, I mean, this is where I'm a nerd because I love history like that. I think it was one of the czars. I think it was Ivan the Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Russia, like those big like buildings that look like ice cream scoops, like with the different colors.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had like his architect build that. I'm pretty sure it's him. And then he asked the guy, he's like, can you build something that's beautiful again? He's like, well, yeah, I could if I had some time. Like, if I had, and he's like, okay. And he scoops his eyeballs out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, because he doesn't want anyone to have this type of beauty or building. So I was like, well, I'm going to take away your sight so you can't do this again.
Yep.
Oh my.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what Camino is, this whole Camino situation. It's literally that. Like, they take the cloning tech, most likely, with Mount Tantus, and then they destroy Camino.
Oh, guys, I really love this image. This image screams to me the clone uprising. We are seeing Commander Wolf. He's back in action. He's about time. I can only think of the commando on the right as Gregor. So that's pretty cool. Then you got like a bunch of clone troopers behind him. This is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see like just a bunch of clone troopers fighting Imperial stormtroopers. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. This is from a video game. They're going to make it on the screen happen. I'm willing it into existence.
I would say, we're going to get you guys know, I just feel like it's gonna happen. We're gonna be getting like the old Republic Commando Squad maybe versus our the good guys. Like, because if we get like stormtroopers versus bad guys, we've already seen Scorch, so it's just like I wonder if they're gonna go all the way and give us good guys, good commando clones versus bad commando clones.
Oh yeah, and we also have Tech. Tech is coming back. Did because he ended up because he ended up joining. Yeah, I haven't. If you guys haven't realized, I haven't watched Bad Batch since it was finished with season 2. So some of this is murky, but it's coming back to me that he had left with Rex at one point. He wanted to join the rebellion because he felt like the batch was just kind of floating around and they could have done a lot more. So yeah, we're gonna see again the whole theme of this season is everything coming full circle, similar to what we've seen in Star Wars Rebels season 4. Right, you got all those pirate characters, everybody coming to Lothal at the time of need. It was this big climactic battle, and I can only see that same thing happening here.
Oh yeah, I think that's what a lot of this season's going to be about is like the coming together of like all these characters, good and bad for that matter.
Yeah, we got a shot of another shot kind of like season 1 or 2 where it's always Wrecker that's getting picked on by the creatures of whatever planet they're on. First it was a Dianoga looking thing, and now it's a giant crocodile looking creature. So it's just yeah, they're consistent. They're consistent with their imagery here.
Oh yeah, I always like seeing more creatures in Star Wars though, just because like sometimes I feel like they're lacking. Like I think like I mean I think it's a fair assessment, but I think that like the sequel trilogy, it felt like it was kind of lacking on like its creatures and aliens and things. And I just like seeing more more of these like different types of creatures in Star Wars just in general. Even if it's just for like one scene, I just like seeing more aliens. Like we don't need to see only humanoid type characters.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Now this looks like it could be a Venator cruiser, perhaps. You know?
Yeah.
Because
It-
I would like the idea of the clones somehow requisitioning or taking over a Venator, and that's their capital ship. They'll be going from planet to planet, or they'll end up going to Mount Tantus, and this thing loaded with like 12,000 clone troopers.
yeah. I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, yeah, like when I first saw it, I guess my initial instinct was I thought it was a Venator. I just assumed just because the whole transition from clones to stormtroopers.
Yeah, I wish this image came out more clear, but it was a very dark shot. But this is just the exterior shot of Mount Tantus itself, just showing you there's like several hangar bays, stuff that I love looking at, like the diagrams of the outsides of ships or the insides of ships, and just kind of getting like a little bit miniature of like a Death Star kind of feel, where it's like they're going into the tiny little hangar bay that has so many ships, and the scale of this thing looks freaking enormous. So. And of course, the final shot here. The Size Ventress, everybody, wielding a yellow lightsaber. Such good stuff. Stuff that I was going, huh? We've talked about enough on here. And Chris Forsyth in the chat had mentioned this earlier, and he's thinking on the same brainwave as I am. Well, last we left off, she was hanging out, having a good old time with Quinlan Voss. We've gotten so many references to him, whether it be from Obi-Wan series to the Darth Vader comics from 2017 with Charles Soule, that he's alive. Can this finally be the way we see Quinlan again, rather than that Dark Horse issue that came out not too long ago? And that was in the Clone Wars. I want to see Quinlan Voss, everybody, in the dark times, wielding a lightsaber, killing some stormtroopers mercilessly. Come on, Lucasfilm, don't let me down.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be really great. Like seeing Ventress, that was not an expected appearance whatsoever. And the fact that also guys like her dialogue, she was talking about like wanting to like kill someone, and it's like I wonder, who's she talking to? Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like the way she's saying it too, it's not in a like menacing way. It's more of like kind of like a playful way,
Yep.
some or like it's she's definitely like just playing with somebody when she's saying that. So like it makes me wonder who she's talking to. Maybe it could be like maybe it's Quinlan. Maybe it's if it's not Quinlan, it on paper it's not going to be any of our Bad Batch crew members because she hasn't met them. So it just makes you wonder if it's not
I
Quinlan.
think it is them though.
You start kind of it's. I feel like it has to be because if not, who else would it be? Like some
If
of
you
the
watch
bounty
the
hunter characters?
trailer, I don't know.
I feel like she's going to run into some regular stormtroopers.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Because in the trailer, they could do this. They did mess with the trailers, but it shows it shows her blocking blaster bolts. Then it cuts to the Bad Batch people with like surprise expressions on their face, and she continues to talk. And there's like blue blaster bolts. I don't know. I feel like that's literally the scene, but I could be wrong. You're right. Never trust the trailers. They try to misdirect us a lot. But it's interesting, right? Because you would think, okay, she used to be a Sith acolyte. She obviously would want to get revenge on the guy that killed her, but the problem is he's been dead. So what does she do now? What is her path? What is her purpose? I like the idea of her wielding a yellow lightsaber as kind of like a neutral color, where it's like, maybe she's kind of like a gray Jedi. I imagine her as a mercenary, honestly. Like she's probably just going around the galaxy making money because that's what she used to do right in the Clone Wars. Like she was a bounty hunter in that latter half of the conflict right there. So it makes sense. Like, okay, she's going to pick up where she left off. She's going to just go around roaming the galaxy and just trying to make a living. But my question is, you're introducing this character now? Like, this is a huge moment because she was a main character from the Clone Wars. And not to get too far ahead of myself, and we're gonna, wrap up this discussion, but I think there's potential for possible spin-off with this character and maybe others. Like, I could see that. I don't know.
I agree.
Well, guys, here's something too with her character. As long as she makes it through the series, maybe we get something with her and Quinlan. Because what if she goes with him for the path for Kenobi to really help transport, the force sensitive people and all that. So they, maybe that could be a good redemption for her character. Of course, she's been like redeemed a lot for all of us, but think about it this way: like if she would go from being like a menacing villain working with Dooku and the Emperor and everybody to, okay, now her character is basically going to be settled and ending at her helping save force sensitive kids and stuff. Like that'd be a good full circle for her character, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. So I mean, nobody could have had this on their bingo card for Bad Batch trailer having a Size Ventress. That was literally shock treatment that we haven't seen in Star Wars in a very long time. I'm trying to think of the last time we got something like this in Star Wars where we thought a character for sure was dead and came back. Besides Rise of Skywalker, of course. Besides that, I'm trying to rack my brain. And not being in the same series, right? Not being like, oh, it's Sabine and she's alive the next episode. Like leading with a series reveal of a character living, and you're going, huh?
I think the only time was the end of whatever Clone Wars season it was when Darth Maul gets revealed to be alive. I think that's
there you go. There you go. That's a big one.
That. And then the funny thing about that is we had to wait like a full season pretty much to see him. So it's like, that was wild because it was like season 3, I think, and then he didn't even appear to like either the end of season 4 or the beginning of season 5. It was like a really big gap for Darth Maul to appear.
Gosh.
And like, they just completely like dodged that storyline just to build suspense. So I think that was the last time we've had something like that. Because I don't remember, like you said, the Emperor's kind of whatever. They announced that anyways. I mean, the only other big shock value thing we've gotten from a trailer is when Thrawn walks out of the darkness and gets revealed. That's about it. That comes to mind anyways for me.
Yeah, but that basically about wraps up the trailer. So just looking quickly, I'm going to just run through real quick the release schedule here. So February 21st, which... let's see what day of the week that is. Okay, that's on a Wednesday, and every episode after will be airing on Wednesdays. I'm wondering if they're gonna do a 9 p.m. approach. I really hope so. I'm so thankful that I'm only doing it to myself, but the idea that me in bed would wake up at like 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. to watch these things, whatever it was, and I'm liking the normalcy of just coming home from work and putting it on immediately, not having to do that. But so hopefully they do that. We'll see. It's good to have appointment viewing people, especially for the final season, to get people hyped on social media. Be like, all right, we're sitting down watching. We can all react at the same time. It's a good time. It's a good time. But anyway, yeah. So February 21st, episode 1, Confined. Episode 2, Paths Unknown. Episodes 3, this is the big one here, Shadows of Tantus. February 28th, episode 4, A Different Approach. March 6th, episode 5, The Return. March 13th, we get 2 episodes. Episode 6, Infiltration. Episode 7, Extraction. March 20th, episode 8, Bad Territory. March 27th, episode 9, The Harbinger. April 3rd, we get 2 episodes again. Episode 10, Identity Crisis. Episode 11, Point of No Return. April 10th, episode 12, Juggernaut. April 17th, episode 13, Into the Breach. April 24th, episode 14, Flash Strike. And the finale is airing on May 1st, episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived. Hovering on that last one, I'm pretty sure that's like the first dialogue that Bad Batch had in Star Wars, was Wrecker saying, "The cavalry has arrived."
Yep.
So that's kind of a nice coming home full circle moment,
I could see yeah, that was an interesting dialogue interesting title that stuck out to me. Also, the Harbinger one is an interesting one. Just because normally the Harbinger is usually something bad, the Harbinger of death or the Harbinger of disease or these things. So that's an episode to be out on the lookout for something. Maybe it won't be on the nose, but there will be maybe some sort of Easter egg to lead us into the final back half of the season. That's definitely an episode to put a pin on.
Yeah. I'm liking how they have a nice consistency of 2 episode releases peppered in within this season. Like you go 3 weeks, it's another 2 episodes, and that's great. I like those longer form episodes, especially with the first one being 3 episodes long. That's a bona fide Star Wars movie practically that we're going to be watching on February 21st, and we're sure to see Mount Tantus on there. So cannot wait for that one.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun premiere. Also, one little fun thing to throw out there, little prediction leading into Bad Batch. Maybe we've had the Emperor's in this. Maybe when we're around the Mount Tantus stuff, we get him talking to Thrawn at some point as a surprise cameo about whatever's going on at Tantus and stuff to give Thrawn some ideas, because Thrawn still hasn't been purgled away. So maybe we get a little Thrawn cameo even with this Mount Tantus stuff.
I don't think Thrawn technically existed yet, because this seems like, unless they do a major time jump, I think Thrawn wasn't in the picture until 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. That's when he was first discovered on that the one planet
point
there and the thing. So yeah, I don't think it's time yet. Although yeah, I guess Anakin could have told him anyway. Getting a time loop there, but. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm excited as anybody. I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait. Finally, nice to have a date and some really cool, tantalizing reveals in a trailer that I'm already hyped for the show to begin with, and now I'm even more hyped. So, yeah.
It's gonna be a good time.
So there you have it. There's our breakdown of the Bad Batch in frame by frame basis. Did we leave out anything? Did we leave out any big theories that you guys might have? Let us know in the comment section below, or hit us up on social media, tag us, and tell us what you think you'd like to see in season 3, the final season of the Bad Batch. Well, guys, it's been a wonderful episode. Tell us where the people can find you online. I'll throw it over to Milton. Yeah.
So they can find me on Twitter or X at MiltonWeber7 or Instagram at Milton7Weber.
There you go. And Ben?
Yeah, you can find me talking about all this stuff on Twitter or X and Instagram, both at RealBenMaynard.
Yeah, and you can find me here on the YouTube Starrapter YouTube channel, and you can find us every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, except for Super Bowl Sunday in 2 weeks. We're going to be probably pre-recording something or going like earlier in the week or something like that. We're gonna find out. We'll let you guys know at the first. There will be something that week somehow, some shape or form. Because we know not everybody's attention is going to be on our stream that night. That's for darn sure.
No.
So we'll save you guys the trouble. But you can also download us on any podcast streaming app of your choice: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever you like. Go ahead, do that there. But please like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'll see you all next week. For Ben, for Milton, for Chris, aka Starrapter. This was Outer Rim Transmission number 138. May the force be with you always, and transmission.